Mate, obviously stories are a big part about how you guys actually sell as well. Obviously, we keep away from the dirty word of selling, but we're in the business of health, the business of sales and creating dreams and opportunities. Stories, talk to me about it. I know it's a really key factor that you guys are really understanding and passionate about.
We talked about fear of loss and obviously exposing people's raw nerves.
Yeah.
Talking to people directly about those things is not the right way.
It can be challenging. Yeah.
So you are literally challenging them face to face on something that's very important to them, and possibly very emotionally charged. So the best way to approach that is through stories. Tell stories. Yeah. And I was just thinking about the fear of loss. One of my favorite times was obviously it was a favourite time because yes, this gentleman purchased some holidays from me, but he'd already purchased holidays for his family, and he came back and he bought nearly $100,000 worth. And of course, when somebody buys $100,000 worth in one go, you need to ask the question: why are you doing that?
Yeah.
So, and the reason was quite simple. He owned a metal foundry of some sort. He was making table bases. And exporting them around the world. So he had plenty of money and he spent a lot of time setting his family up. So all the reasons why he was doing it were fantastic. Yeah. Setting his family up, setting his grandkids up for the future. They had heaps and heaps of money, and they went on a holiday. They had owned these credits for 10 years. And he went on the first holiday with them after 10 years of purchase. They went to Tasmania. And they were having a family dinner. There's a few bottles of wine and some nice Tasmanian produce. And he said he left the table and he went outside. And his wife came outside and said, "Are you okay? You're feeling okay?" This gentleman was probably 75. This gentleman was 75 years of age, had tears in his eyes, and the wife hadn't seen him cry for 50 years. She said, "What's happening? What's going on?" He said, "We were just having a really nice experience there. The kids and the grandkids were sharing all of these stories about their holidays. Remember when this happened? Remember when Jimmy did this and all this stuff. There was an hour worth of discussion over these wonderful holidays." He said, "I wasn't in one of them. I wasn't in a single one of those holidays. Ouch. Nobody mentioned me. I wasn't in any of all those scenes you painted, all these great experiences. I was in none of them."
It's crazy, huh?
They immediately booked a holiday to Fiji, and as soon as he stepped through the door, he said, "I need to have this many experiences. I'm 75. By the time I'm 85, I can't guarantee that I'll still be able to do this." In the process, from that holiday, he sold one of his foundries. And he came and purchased goods purely for that. And he told me that story, and the sale took a very, very short space of time. I just asked him just simple questions about life and about what they wanted to do and what they wanted to achieve, and just some simple leading questions. And of course, it was a nice, easy one for me. But that story stuck with me for such a long time, and I've used that story with many a person as well.
Yeah.
People I remember this third-party story with another client where I told exactly the same third-party story, and he bought 20,000 credits, which is about $60,000. He was a dairy farmer from New Zealand who just subdivided all of his farms, and his dream was to sail a yacht from New Zealand to Fiji. But he put his hands up and he said, "Look at these hands, he had these big knuckles."
Yeah.
And he was a dairy farm. He said, "I've been working myself to the bone, my knees are stuffed.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore, I can't sail." I said, "So why are you buying credits? You're kind of pretty buggered. Why are you buying these things for holidays?" He said, "That's my son over there, that's my son over there." And they're doing exactly what I was doing. They're working their guts out for their family, but I fear that they are losing the opportunity. And I did it, and I don't want them to make the same mistake. And he also said they're Scottish, and so they're cheap. And if I buy this, they won't waste it because I don't want to waste anything because they're not cheap. So I remember that's what he said to me. Yeah. But I used that third-party story with that gentleman. He purchased because he was not going to purchase because he's 80 years of age. He's.
Why would he? I can't. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. But that just flicked him straight over like that. But only because he saw something. It was
a powerful story, isn't it? but it doesn't even have to be that powerful. It doesn't have to be the 75-year-old in that situation, because everyone's got their own story.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we won't talk about this in depth now by any stretch of imagination, but you know, when I was like 23, I had a young person stroke and nearly died, and I literally had a colleague, but a colleague of mine who's a surgeon, and he was actually, it was like a Hollywood movie in many respects, on the bed going in, and they thought at the time that I was having a brain hemorrhage. And so actually had to stop and actually ask me, you know, is there anything you want me to pass on to your family? And I sort of remember looking at Norm saying, like, what the fuck? And he said, Vanessa, I've already called Vanessa. Vanessa's picked your mother up. They're about 20 minutes away, but if you're having a brain hemorrhage, you don't have that long. I need to know, is there anything you want me to pass on to family? And so life changed for me in that situation. And I sort of say, like, you think about, if I use that as a sales type strategy, you know, not as a tip or tactic or anything like that, but when you can talk about life-changing moments that change things, that's one of them for me. And I have people say to me, look, I don't have that time where I nearly died, James, but we all have a story. We all have something for family or for kids, or a defining moment where you realise that you didn't want to be here and you wanted to be there. Or there was something that you really just wanted to help someone else out with. You know, everyone has those moments, and that's where storytelling, you know, I mean, don't want to get too controversial here, but when you think about like all of our backstories through all of, you know, Fijian culture or Australian culture and that type of stuff, it comes through stories, right? You've got the Aboriginal, the Dreamtime, the storytelling, etc., that gets passed down from generation. I mean, even people talk about the Bible and say at the end of the day, they're just stories all put together, whether they're right, wrong, accurate, not accurate. Let's not get into any of that. But the fact of the matter is, it's all a collective of history of stories, right? So I think it's always been the way as people that we understand and learn. It's also the way that we need to understand that we make that connection and commonality, and it's also a brilliant way for us to be able to actually sell to cut to the chase, right?
What did you say?
What did I say? Oh, at the time, I don't actually remember what I said, and I've spoken to Norm. It probably took me a year or two to go back to actually talking about that event with him in detail. He doesn't actually remember.
My brother can't get my Xbox.
Yeah, well, probably, yeah. I don't have a brother, but yeah, so yeah, definitely my brother wasn't getting my Xbox. But I don't actually remember. I remember my blood running cold. I remember hair standing up my end and just literally looking up, and Norm was on my right hand shoulder right here. I just remember just looking at him, just thinking, like, literally just how and why, like what.
How do you think that shapes your life today?
Well, massively, because it goes back to, I mean, I think about, that's my 75-year-old manufacturer before, isn't it? You know, I sit there and I talk to my kids now, like we spoke about before. I talk to my kids about gratitude, about experiences. Every school holidays, we take our kids away on holidays. We go away probably twice a year overseas with the kids. And you know, some of the time we just go local. We've got our own little cabin down by the river, and there's no mobile reception. We go away and we rough it at times and stuff like that, and just create experiences and that. You know, because I can tell you right now, I don't want to be that 75-year-old that you spoke about that gets to being the 75-year-old and my kids, and grandkids by that stage, hopefully, in that situation where they're talking about, you know, life and experiences, and I didn't figure in any.
Isn't it a great opportunity to be in the industries that we're at, whether it's the health side or it's my side with holidays? It's a great opportunity to catch those people before they have regrets.
Oh, absolutely.
It's an
absolutely.
opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's an exciting thing.
Yeah, it is, and it's what for you guys, like, you know, with holidays and experience and that type of stuff. That's what you're selling, aren't you? You're selling the sizzle of do this now, do it now, and create that while you've got the opportunity. For us, it's like the preventative health side. It's the whole, don't wait until you're 60 and you're coming to 10 years of diabetes, you know, with retinopathy issues, and you got dodgy knees, you got this and that. How about let's actually change that now while we've got an opportunity to.
And the life that you can lead up until that point. So we may be able to fix it at that point, but the quality of life along the way through, and the lack of ability to experience things along the way, what is detracted from your life already? Yeah. Same thing with my guys. If they haven't had that experience with their kids for 10 or 15 years, man, are you going to spend the next 10 or 15 years? Yeah, we can get you on. You can go on a Canada trip, or we do a trip to Disneyland 10 or 15, 20 years from now. You can get there, but in between now and then, man, there's a lot of experiences that you could also have.
Absolutely. And I find it, like, I'm self-employed, and there's a lot of people in our industry that are self-employed as well, and I don't think any of us stop near as much. And that was the first reason why we got into it as well, and you know that as well, that my wife, Vanessa said, no, she just went and jumped in, did it so that once a year, she said, even if we do nothing more than once a year, we come to Fiji because we love the people here, we had a great week here. If we just do that, and I book it every year, and obviously we've got our credits, we don't have to pay for it as we go through the process.
Can you remember how much it cost on that initial day?
No, got no idea.
So you're listing off all the reasons why. She's probably saying, I just got to get this guy to stop. And I'll tell you what, whatever it was heaps cheaper than getting divorced.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I'm paying, child payments and all that type of stuff. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But you compare that to, so what is a going rate for going next door to Radisson and that type of Sofotels and that type of stuff? What would you be looking at for a week?
A 2-bedroom at the moment it's on peak time of year, so school holidays just finishing. It'd be about $1,000 a night.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So you're sitting there for a holiday that's going to cost them somewhere between $6,000 or $8,000 type of thing in that type of situation, and yet you look at that and you go, yeah, okay, the same amount of credits over a 1 week period might actually cost you $25,000 or something like that. $25,000. So you sit there and you go, okay, great. So you've actually paid. Well, it's like, well, why would I pay 25 when I can pay 6 to 8? Yeah, good question. But hey, you get those credits every single year.
Three holidays, you mop that money up, and then you've got it for free.
And you go for free. Yeah.
And the real question is, if it was continuing to be 6 or 8 grand, will you make the choice to stop, move away from your business, get somebody else to take care of the business, trust somebody else, pay somebody else, leave it to and then you add 10 grand on top of it to go on holidays? Yeah. Too often the choice is, I'll just stay.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll go away one night somewhere just to keep the missus.
I mean, I've got one of my clients at the moment. He's in Europe at the moment. First holiday he's had for nearly 4 years. Yeah. And you sit there and you go, and this guy is one of the most down-to-earth, beautiful people you've ever met, and he works his butt off philanthropically for a lot of homeless people and all that type of stuff. He does an amazing amount of work, and I look to him and I just go, man, what you're doing is amazing. But sometimes you've got to also do it for yourself.
Well, if you don't give back, then you're not to yourself. Then you're not going to be as good to give to others.
Absolutely.
So it's not necessarily about taking away from others. We have a lot of church ministers that don't earn a particularly large amount of money, but quite often their partners will look at them and say, hey, listen, you've got to make sure you give back to yourself. Why? But all my life is about giving and about making sure I take care of others. But if you're not in the right mental or physical state, then you're taking it away from them as well.
Absolutely.
So, and it's not a matter of, in terms of our product, it's not a matter of just spending as a one-off and never seeing it again. So you're putting it back into something that you can then also give to others as well. So if you find somebody that needs that as well, you can actually gift it to them and they can utilise it in your stand.
People always talk about a glass, half full, half empty. If you use that same type of thing, but you think about a glass, you can't pour from an empty cup. And when you think about it, that's exactly what you're saying, right? Yep. If your cup or glass is empty yourself, you can't pour, you can't give to anyone if you're empty yourself.
Exactly.
So it's so that's why I have been involved in that type of stuff as well. Knowing if you go back to some of my own stories, there's a couple things. There's other stories as well there's one a little bit scary and that type of stuff as well, but not about death, but about a whole lot of other stuff that we always go back to. But I think it's critical that in the sales process that we have our own stories and we can impart that, because I also know it works really well for yourselves, but it also works in our industry as well, is finding those commonalities. Yeah, I like to have a rule of 9 where the first 3 questions that we have, and there's a whole process to this, but the first 3 or 4 questions we get at least 2 commonalities. If you can get at least 2 commonalities, they start to actually like, you start to go from no to like, because when people actually like one another, it's because they've got vested interest.
Yep.
You're not going to sit around having, breaking bread with people if you don't like them, if you can't actually talk about things and you can't just chill out and relax. Otherwise, it's just.
If you were going to a coffee shop, your best friend said, "Hey man, let's meet for a cup of coffee. We've got some things we need. Just got to get it in my chest." They're sitting there in a coffee shop, and you walk in. You're not going to go, "So tell me, what's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
You're going to say, "Hey buddy, how you going? You got a coffee?" It's your best friend in the world, your sister, your brother, and you're still going to go through.
Well, how many times you sit there for 30 minutes, they've got to run, you still haven't got to the crux of what you're there for.
Exactly right. So why do we do the same thing to our clients? And of course, when somebody's sharing, you'll listen to them, you'll hear them out, but then you're also going to add things for yourself. That's a conversation. Right? One of the issues is when we get to a workplace like the sales environment, where we've got those numbers over the top of us, we start to move away from what is just a normal practice in our life, is to have the social
trying too hard.
Yeah, was trying too hard, and then the people feel like they're in an inquisition. Question, then being told what's wrong with them, what they need to do, then of course it's a fearful process. But if you're doing exactly as you're saying and just stepping through nicely.
We think about it as a kid as well. You're always told what to do. Don't do this, don't do that. And what did you always want to go and do?
Yeah.
Completely, absolutely. You did exactly what you just pulled the face then was exactly what you did at school. It says, sit up, don't do this, don't swing on your chair. And the moment the teacher turns her back, you sit there and you look at your mate and you go, hey.
That's right.
Because it's like, that's what we do, right? We always want to challenge those things. And people say, I don't break the rules, just bend them. Like, we're always trying to do that. So if you're always coming down saying you've got to do this, do, people sit there and go, because that's just how we like to operate, right?
And they'll come up with excuse. You just be excusing each other out of the game. You're never going to get to a positive resolution.
That's right.
And
it's the same thing as when you handle objections. Same thing as if we're trying to say, look, we really need to be working the following. This is the pathway that we need. If we go into that mentality of, hey, it's going to take 4 more sessions to do the following, people start to go, oh, hang on, 4 sessions at X amount of dollars creates X amount, and they start to financially track that. And start to go, right, well, do they want to be buying that much health or injury prevention or whatever it is that we're dealing with, right? But if we take that away into this is the journey that we're on, here's what you ultimately want, here's where you're at, here's where you need to be at, and this is what we know is going to happen, and we're going to do this together. I need you to do this now so that when I see you in a few days' time, I can do A, B, and C. You can then do D, E, and F, and together we're going to get that through this pathway.
And the overriding thing needs to be a picture in their head of how they're going to feel when they are back on track. They are 100% fit and healthy and having those experiences. How am I going to feel at that point that will override this session issue and dollar issue? Absolutely.
And we know people don't care about buying more sessions of treatment if they know they're going to get that outcome, if they understand that process. That money's not actually the driver for about 90% of people that we see in the health industry. They want that outcome. You've got to get down, like we were talking before, you've got to get down that 2nd or 3rd level.
Well, look, you can't tell me that these people that with a sore knee wouldn't go to Sports World and buy $300 worth of braces for their knee and all this sort of stuff. They'd get a gym membership they never use, and they go and buy all the latest Under Armour clothes and spend $1,200 on it.
Look, all the gear with no idea.
Yeah, that's right. So you can't tell me that if they had an outcome of wellness and something that's really detracting from their life, if they've seen that, then that would be worth the investment.
Absolutely. Get that 2nd or 3rd level, make it about them, create that pathway. Money doesn't become an issue there. And I think what we've been talking about in this whole time here is about the stories, is about pulling that together, creating that relationship, the know, the like, the trust, and it's got to be done from the right area and the right reason. And I think that works really well for what you guys are doing here. Exactly. I think it's a very nice, comfortable feel as opposed to, you're not selling used cars. Not that there's anything wrong with used car salesmen, should get the guy, the audio, get the audio guys to cut that bit out. But it becomes a scenario where we need to be able to sell experience. We need to sell stories. We need to be able to sell, relationships and fun and happiness and what they want and what they want to feel, not just because you're never going to sell off dollars.
Correct. And it's also selling our people that way, the same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Selling our employees to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Mate, that's powerful stuff, and it's something that I think most with what you guys do and with our teams and our clients, I think we do it pretty well a lot of the time. But I always say, no matter how good you are, you can always be great. What's the next step? How do we, the logical next steps to be even better?
A saying in our business is, you've never arrived.
Yes.
As soon as we feel like we've arrived in this business,
you're done.
We're about to die.
Yeah.
We're about to have the worst month ever. Every time I feel like, man, guys, I think I've got it.
Yeah. I finally got him. Yeah,
we're about to suck.
Yeah.
And then it takes 2 or 3 weeks to right the ship again. So you've never arrived. You've got to keep working at it. But that's why we keep turning up to this job as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're not just tapping a keyboard and getting the same wage week after week. We're out there working hard for our families. And hopefully we'll do a few more holidays.
Absolutely. Continuous improvement's what it's about, huh? It's funny. Global Kaizen Group is one of my company. The word Kaizen, Japanese proverb for continuous improvement.
Yeah, right.
And it was something that meant a lot to me years ago, and I just thought years ago, actually, it'd be really cool to be able to have a company that had the word Kaizen in it. So that's why I actually had the Global Kaizen Group, because it was an international company.
Kaizen. And
it was a group. So Kaizen, Japanese proverb for continuous improvement. So in being completely transparent and being accountable for delivering what I say I'm going to do, what do you think my number plate on my car is? KAIZ3N, because
There you go.
ZEN was taken, so 3 backwards. So that's my number plate, and I've got it in a couple of states in Australia, and yeah, there you go. And that way people go, oh, you got your number plate there. I'm like, absolutely, because now you got to live up to it.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to always, ante up. You got to continually.
If you're going to put the brand on your forehead,
Absolutely,
then
you got to live it, right? Yeah. So that's what I do. So, mate, I've taken up way too much of your time. I really appreciate it, mate, for everything you've been able to talk about and what you guys do over here and what we're able to do together. And that's really special. So, mate, keep changing lives and doing some awesome stuff. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. See you back in vision.
Absolutely. Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.